In this video, I'm talking about the 10 reasons why the Jaguars get back to 10 wins for the 2025-2026 season. It's been a minute. I'm a diehard Jags fan, so we've had our struggles the last, decade plus, and it's been all the way back since 2017 since we had 10 wins. It was a great, awesome, fun season, amazing defense. Saxonville, great playoff run all the way to the AFC Championship when Miles Jack was not down in that fourth quarter against the Patriots. Should have been in the Super Bowl. But it's time for the Jaguars to get back. It's time for the Jaguars to build a dynasty. And so shout out to you all Jags fans who suggested this topic, especially those on X, Men in Teal Podcast, Duval Dynasty, Florida Canna Gym, DTTW, Duval T87, and then here on YouTube, PJ Brown 12. Jags fans are the best, so go ahead and hit like on this video, drop a comment. That's just going to help us reach more Jags fans, and then hit subscribe because we've got a lot more Jags content coming as we get closer to the season. So 10 reasons. Here we go. Number one is that we have hungry leadership in Jacksonville. I love this. Title from Jags.com reveals unified leadership of Jaguars trio. The big three, Tony Boselli, Liam Cohen, and James Gladstone, are GM, head coach, and EVP, executive vice president. Look, the old regime for the Jaguars was full of themselves. There was all of this division. There seemed to be this complacency, especially as the 2024 season unraveled and then just turned into a blame game. Well, the first several months, you see a great unity. And I thought about using that word here because I love it so much. And yes, we haven't gotten into the season, but they've navigated free agency. They've navigated the combine, the draft, big moves, big trades, and they've always had each other's back. There is a great sense of unity. But what I wanted to focus on was there's a hunger. If you watch the end of Khan and Balky, which was a painful interview, but before Balky was fired, shout out to Cohen for making that happen. But in that, they said, well, what is success for the Jaguars? And really, both of them were just like, I don't know, make the playoffs. Well, the new big three is hungry to win a championship, not just make the playoffs. And we may be still 1, 2, 3 years away, but that's the vision. That's the goal. And each of these guys, Cohen is a first-time head coach, Gladstone is a first-time GM, and Boselli is a first-time EVP, are going to be hungry to prove, hey, we are the guys to do it. We've got this incredible opportunity, this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So I think they're going to be hungry, and that's going to rub off on the team. And we all know the fan base as well. So that's number one. Number two, let's look at some statistics. Let's look at the Jags as a whole. And number two reason is that we're going to get to 10 wins is that we're going to win the ground game. The Jags were not that great on the ground last year. We were, in fact, 25th in terms of rushing yards with 1,729. So right at about 100 yards. About 101 yards per game. The yards per carry number is actually not that bad at 4.2. That's a little more middle of the road than bottom 5, bottom 10. And then 13 rushing touchdowns. But you look at our stats, you had Tank Bigsby have that breakout season. I think he can continue to build on that. Shout out to one of our other Jag bros. We have a podcast together. If you've never listened to it before here on YouTube or any podcast platform, I got to give my younger brother Joey some credit. He called that one big time before the season. He's like, Bigsby is RB1, which we all laughed and said he was crazy. Well, he was RB1 in terms of yards per carry, and touchdowns for the Jags. I don't know for ETN. And maybe that's a future video. Let me know if you want us to do that on ETN, whether or not the Jags will trade him. It's been a hot topic. I think the Jags are legitimately interested in maybe calling, not just receiving calls, but just don't like the price. So, maybe that happens mid-season. But you look at the Jags' philosophy in the draft. They double dip at running back, the only position they double dip with Tootin and Hines-Allen. And if you watch the hunt, they pretty much insinuate, hey, if we didn't trade up and go get Hunter, Genty was going to be the pick at 5. So clearly the Jags as a whole want to emphasize the ground game. That is something Cohen did phenomenally well, unleashing and unlocking Bucky Irving for the Bucks. I think he can do that with Tootin, who's a home run hitter. I think he can do that with Bigsby. And look, Hines-Allen is, I know everyone's going to say, 7th rounder. Well, he had 2K yards for Syracuse last year. So If the Jags do move on from Etienne, that could be a 1-2-3 punch. If we keep Etienne, I think he comes back with a little more fire. He's going to be in a contract year. He's going to want to prove things. He's a very good receiver out of the backfield. So that is reason number 2. Reason number 3, and I'm not a hater, even though these are our rivals, but we are playing in a weaker division. There is no question about that. We can look at the stats last year. We were abysmal, and somehow the Titans were worse, which I do love always being ahead of the Titans, even though 2024 was a disaster. I like Cam Ward, and I think he'll be fine for the Titans, but just no offensive weapons around him. The defense is fine. Look, the Jags went 3-3 last year in the AFC South, and we were really, really, really bad last year. So 4-2 is the floor, and the question is going to be, can you sneak into 5-1 range, where you potentially sweep the Colts and Titans? Because the Colts have the opposite problem. I actually like the Colts roster, but I hate their QB situation. I'm not a big fan of, and at some point, the narrative is out on you. You cannot stay healthy. Not healthy in high school, not healthy in college, not healthy in the pros. Daniel Jones has, not been successful. He's coming out of an abysmal situation. And so that's very, very winnable, very, very sweepable for the Jags in both scenarios. And then can you split with the Texans, who, yes, I love their moves in terms of wide receivers. I like what they did. I like both the Iowa State guys. Their secondary is going to be nasty next year, but their offense line got worse, and their O-line was a disaster last year. And C.J. Stroud struggled to have time to throw the ball, and so all of a sudden, that could be even worse. And so there could be a disaster there. The Texans are obviously the top dog. They're the team that the Jags will be chasing, but there is going to be a lot of winnable games in our division. Reason number 4 made me laugh. Maybe laugh just to avoid from crying, but secondary is going to be better, if for no other reason than we were dead last year. Last in, honestly, a ton of categories, which is sad. 4,605 passing yards given up, 29 touchdowns. And this was the painful part. Not only were teams torching us, we just weren't getting any interceptions. And then even our sacks numbers was not that good either. Look at, we were ahead of the Ravens by a little bit, and you're like, oh, well, the Ravens are good. Well, they had 20 more sacks than us and double the amount of interceptions. So the secondary is going to get better, if for no other reason than you can't possibly get worse. You're in last in pretty much every area. And so bringing in Travis Hunter is, of course, going to help. I think he is going to be more focused on offense, but he's going to play both positions. Gladstone doesn't make that big press conference drafting. You don't make that all-in move and not see what he can do on both sides of the field. Clearly, Travis Hunter wants to do it. He had a ton of success his last year in a historic Heisman season for Colorado. He's going to help the secondary. I love Jarian Jones. He was the only corner last year to have a passer rating under 100 when targeted. The only corner on the Jags team when targeted to not give up a touchdown. I like moving him to his natural position, which is and was outside corner. I think he's a great CB2. Tyson Campbell, yes, is a question mark. I'm not a big fan of Eric Murray as well, but he gives you some depth. So you're like, well, how is this a good thing? My point is you're not moving from 32nd to like 10th. You're moving from 32nd to 25th, maybe even 20th with a better DC as well. But that jump is massive because you're going from the bottom. Number 5 reason, I'm a big fan of this guy as well, and I'm excited to see him come back to 110%, and that is Josh Hines-Allen, JHA 41. I remember being there at Jacksonville, the Carolina game where he breaks the franchise record, gets 17.5 sacks. Our new defense coordinator last year, Ryan Nielsen, made a ton of pretty much every mistake you can make in the book he made. And we all know about his hockey style rotation where everyone was in and out, and that was a disaster because there was no depth at the edge position. There was the whole fiasco with Armstead, and, we pay him all this money to be an interior D-line, and then for some reason he's lining up a whole bunch on edge, and then he's saying, well, I always wanted to come and be interior. Well, that was a mess. Well, another one of the sneaky secret messes of Nielsen was that Josh Hines-Allen had gained a bunch of weight because Nielsen wanted all these guys to have versatility to play inside and outside on the D line. Even though Josh Hines-Allen had just set a franchise record, was second in the NFL with 17 and a half sacks. Yeah, let's just completely transform his game. He's already lost 10 to 15, 20 pounds. He's back to a lean, mean fighting machine. He's back to, I don't think he'll get back to 17 and a half sacks. I do think Trayvon Walker is going to eat up some of those as well. But 13, 14, max 15 sacks feels very, very, very realistic, very doable, where he only had 8 sacks last year. So almost doubling them. He's only 27, still about to turn 28. So still certainly right in the middle of his prime. So look for Josh Hines-Allen to have a very nice rebound season. And then number 6, building off edge rushers, the Jags finally have an edge rusher 3. Jags fans have been pounding the table for years, the last 2 years, for Balky to please. It was like so obvious. Even just the 10-year-old fan playing on Madden says, hey, if Trayvon Walker, Josh Hines-Allen goes out, we got no one. We got a 7th round pick or a very, very undersized, slow edge to try and go get the quarterback. Well, Gladstone has finally listened to us, finally done a smart football decision. He's brought back Smoot, Jags legend. Shout out to Smoot in the comments. Give Smoot some love. I'm a big fan of Smoot. He's a guy that gets 3, 4, 5 sacks a game, and you think, oh, well, that's nothing. Well, Jags haven't had that in 2+ years. We haven't had a edge rusher not named Walker or Hines-Allen get more than 1 sack in the whole season. So just that is huge. And then bringing in Emmanuel Ogbah. I have to give Joey, my younger brother, another shout out. He called this back in January that he's a perfect fit, has some connection with some of the new defensive coordinators. He's a vet, 31 years old, and he brings in kind of that 5 sack. He's done that back-to-back years. He had a couple of years with 9 sacks, but if he comes in, gives 5, 6 sacks, gives just some more depth, some more opportunity for the Jags, that is huge. Number 7 reason why the Jaguars can get to 10 wins this season is they finally have a good play caller. That has been another big frustration the last 2 years, was Press Taylor and just the abysmal drop-off for Trevor Lawrence for his stats. He had this incredible breakout year in 2022, 4,100 yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 picks. He had about 300 yards on the ground, 5 touchdowns, so 30 total touchdowns. He was actually 6th in the MVP voting, and he was only 22 years old. And then just struggles have compounded, multiple injuries in these last 2 years after never having any injuries, really major injuries in high school or college. And a lot of that has to do with poor play calling. Well, now all of a sudden we have Liam Cohen, offensive genius, this guy that helped take Baker Mayfield from a good level to best possible level in 2024. Just look at the number jump. He jumps from 500 plus yards this past season, 4,500, jumps significantly in touchdowns with 13 more touchdowns. You're like, okay, well, he had a lot more picks. Yeah, but that's because he had a lot more touchdowns. He was making big plays. His rating went up. His QB rating went up. All of these were career best for him, even though this was his, I think about 10th year in the season. He was still able to have the breakout year. Trevor is only 25 years old in his time. I mean, this is, and we've said it a bunch, this is a make or break year for Trevor. BTJ is breaking out. The Jags go all in on Travis Hunter. I like De'Ami Brown. Parker Washington is solid as well. Brenton Strange from the tight end. You've got some running backs who can make plays as well. So it's time for Trevor Lawrence to have that breakout season, to be the prince that was promised. And I think I'll get into it in a future video, but I think the odds of him doing that are very, very high. Number 8 reason, and we'll go fast with these last couple to try to keep this under 20 minutes is my goal here, is that the closing schedule is very, very easy. Or easier. It's still the NFL. It's not easy, but easier, where you can go on a run. So I think the Jags are going to come in with a lot of hype, a lot of momentum, a lot of excitement. If you can just come in and stay 500 for the first 8, 9, 10 games, you look at this final 6, 7 game stretch starting at week 11, Carolina at Arizona. That's probably a 50-50 game. in my opinion, of who wins. Obviously, that's going to be later in the season. Injuries will play an impact, but then you get into the stretch with a ton of very winnable games. In fact, all winnable games except for one. At Tennessee, winnable. Home against Indiana and Indianapolis, very winnable. Home against the Jets, winnable. At Denver, very, very, very difficult. At Indy, very winnable. Home against the Titans. And again, you're at the end of the season where some of these teams like the Colts, the Titans, the Jets are going to be potentially tanking for a high draft pick, potentially for a quarterback with a much better quarterback class. So if you can come in at 500 and go 4-2 or even 5-1, obviously you get over that 10-win season, which is huge. The number 9 reason, and y'all are going to laugh at me, but I have to give a shout out to this guy because he's just so good. If I can find the depth chart, I know he's a backup, and you're like, how is that one of the reasons he's that good? Wyatt Milum, the Jags 3rd-round pick. I know he's the backup guard right now, but I think he's going to easily crack into the starting rotation some point middle of the season, maybe even early in the season. He's a dude for West Virginia who gave up 0 sacks in all 3 seasons, gave up 0 sacks 3 seasons in high school. He protects his quarterback at all costs. The Jags O-line was better last year, but I think a guy like Wyatt Milum who can play offensive tackle for you, clearly we brought him in to be offensive guard. He's going to give you exceptional pass blocking, and he can learn from some of these new vets in Hainsey and Macari from the Ravens. So that's number 9. And number 10, I come back to where we started, and that is strong leadership. There is a focus, there is a communication that the Jags have one mission, one goal, working together to build the best possible football team. Last year, really last year and a half, felt like you had all these agendas, all these things going on. Well, for the last several months, since this big 3 have come in, there's been this unified focus, unified vision, healthy culture, excited players, excited fan base, and all of that translates to better and better football on the field. There's still a lot to be determined. That's why we love football. That's why we're excited that we're just 10 weeks away from the Jaguars kicking off the season. And hey, I think we're probably still 1 to 2 years away from being a legit contender for the title, but I do think we have a real shot to go out and get 10 wins, go out and be in a dogfight for the AFC title with the Texans, to go out and make it back to the playoffs, to potentially win 1, maybe 2 games in the playoffs, to have Jaguars playoff football again. It's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. The Jag Bros, we're going to be covering and bringing a bunch of content. So again, hit subscribe. Help us to get to 300 subscribers by the start of the season, 70 days away. And again, let us know in the comments what ideas you want for future content. I'll respond to each and every content. Love Jags fans. Love this team. And it's going to be a great year for the Jags.